Hey, welcome everyone. You found it, the Balanced Warrior Podcast. This is where you're going to get advice and strategies to live a life of multi-dimensional success. We talk about health, we talk about wealth, we talk about career and family and how to put it all together. It is possible, and we're going to share with you the strategies that we've learned from years of studying success literature, decades of being martial artists, combining the best of East meets West. My name is Michael Mertens, and I'm joined today by my fellow Balanced Warrior coach, Chris Burlow. Coach Chris, how are you today?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you? It's always great to see you and have our conversations.
Hey, thank you, sir. Well, we're both coming off of big weekends. This past weekend, as I understand, was your and your wonderful wife Kathy's anniversary.
Yes.
And it is a point of pride by all of our Balanced Warrior coaches. We're missing Paul, who's the youngest of the group and the youngest married couple with his wife Gina. But actually, they've been married for coming up on 25 years.
Yeah, I think they're doing 25. Yeah.
My wife and I are coming up on 29 years together. And this past weekend, your anniversary was how long?
32 years.
32 years. And you guys got married, if I remember right, when you were like 15, right?
Yeah, pretty much. I was 23 because she is older than me, and I will publicly say that she was born in the 60s and I was born in the 70s.
Okay, that's true for my wife and I as well.
Is that right? Yeah, because now she'll argue that she was it's by 3 months. She's
Right.
69. I'm March of 70. But I just say, look, it's about results because we're totally in a different decade. Totally a different generation. But anyway, and she looks like my daughter, actually.
You're phenomenal. Yep.
But yeah, 32 years. And what was really cool about that experience was that we just really enjoy. Typically, a lot of times, we live life by ourselves, obviously, but we go away and we're going with other couples and we're going this for this and we're doing this travel and with my siblings. But this was just us. There was nobody else. It was just us for 8 days at Los Cabos. And we had a wonderful time, laughing every day, having fun, nice dinners, training together. So it was something that I would really encourage everybody to do. Is you don't need other couples to enjoy yourselves. Just try and make sure you go and do things on your own with your spouse.
Absolutely. And, for those people who are new to us, or even if you listen to us for a little while, when we talk about multidimensional success, one of the things we talk about is scheduling time for, consistently contributing to or nurturing the most important relationships in your life. So what I know is that this wasn't once in a decade, right? It's our 30th anniversary or whatever. Once in a decade, we're going to go do something. Just talk about maybe some of the high points a week, a month, a year, right? You and Kathy are carving out time for each other. And your parents have now pretty much grown, but you were parents of 5 kids all at one point in different schools. And right. How is your commitment to your relationship? How does that practice? How is that being done in practice on a weekly, monthly, and yearly basis?
Well, I mean, we do spend time. We'll go out once a week together just by ourselves. Like tonight, we have a fundraising function. The two of us will get dressed up and go to. So that's always a given. And it's our plannings for ourselves. Like last night, I had an earlier night. She says, "Let's watch Mufasa, the movie,
the Lion King live action movie, right?"
Yeah, it was great, actually. By the way, so we actually blocked out time and coordinated, and phones off, and we just sat down and we watched the movie together with our 2 dogs in our laps. So that kind of thing happens pretty consistently. Every weekend we'll go out for breakfast one of the weekends together, just her and I, and have conversations. So little things like that. But I'll tell you what we did commit to. And we both made this agreement is that because, again, a lot of our travel has been with groups or other people, that we're going to do 1 trip a year with just the 2 of us.
Nice.
And that's going to be just a non-negotiable and a rock in our calendars. So we're already booking next year now.
Beautiful. Yep. And that gives you something to look forward to.
That's right. And it was great by ourselves.
Mhm.
We had so much. I will tell you, you know, we have a great relationship as it is, but spending the time like that week, you kind of love your spouse even more
Mhm. Mhm.
because you don't have to take care of anything except for each other and have fun. It was one of our best trips that we had together.
Yep. And I know this is a little strange terminology once in a while, but the
Yep.
importance of dating your spouse, right?
Yeah.
That of course, the wording of the wrong scenario is okay when you and your spouse or you and your significant other essentially become roommates, right?
Mhm.
And okay, we live in the same house and we share expenses or whatever, but we don't have some kind of unique, special, significant relationship. And it can go like dating, it can become hot and heavy at times, or it can start to fade back in times. And it's a function of what you do. So the I know I love you, I care about you, I value you or whatever. If it's not backed up by one-on-one time,
Mhm.
by compliments, by acts of service, by recognition, by intimacy time, of course, eventually it's going to start to fade. And you already just pointed out a couple things, right? You said number one, oh, we did that movie and phones were off.
Yeah.
We're still running martial arts schools actively, and sometimes our staff teach until late in the evening. One of my staff called me at 9 p.m. and said, "Hey, sir, I have a question about something." And what was the nature of the question? I found out. And I had picked up the phone because I wasn't sure, because again, it was still class time. And if there'd been an injury or something like that, I'd like to know. But I said to him, actually, "Oh, I'm on TV time with my wife right now.
Yeah.
We can talk about this tomorrow." And I
Yeah.
didn't feel embarrassed about telling him I was on TV time, because he's a young guy who's about to be engaged or is
Yeah.
engaged. And I would have told him, hey, if it had been a fire, been an emergency, hey, let's handle it now. But otherwise, oh, this is a priority in my life. That this one-on-one time with just my wife, enjoying a television program and
Yeah.
cuddling with each other, that's something. And that's a daily emotional bank account deposit, as we talk about. So
Yes.
that's obviously one of the most foundational concept of balanced warrior
For sure.
is when's the last time? When's the last time you made a deposit in the relationship with your significant other? When's the last time you made a deposit in your relationship with yourself, meaning your mental health, your fun and freedom time, your exercise time? Obviously, it applies to your children, but I think one thing that we always emphasize too is no, the phrase is you do have a family, but family time is not couple time, right?
Definitely.
Not just because of the intimacy, but because of the type of conversation, the one-on-one, whatever. And so what you do when you're, going on a vacation to Disney or a theme park or a national park, or even just going on a picnic with your family, that recharges that unit of your life.
Yeah.
But that couple time has to be carved out for.
Yeah.
That.
I agree. And I mean, it's funny. We pretty much said while we were there, people would say, "Oh, what are you here for?" It's, "Oh, we're on our 32nd honeymoon."
Huh.
All right. So next year is going to be our 33rd honeymoon.
Nice.
Right. So that's how we're gonna kind of spin it. But yeah, you're right. I think you know, and what's interesting is like you use the deposit analogy. You put deposits into your relationship, you put deposits into your health, you put deposits into your family. You're gonna end up putting more deposits into your business as well, because you're
Mhm.
going to live guilt free because you know that you're checking those boxes, which
Mm.
frees your mind and mental energy to do what you need to do professionally.
Yep.
But
Yep.
when you're working and you're guilty at home, you're guilty that you're not home. That's a horrible feeling. When you're home and you're guilty that you're not working, that's a horrible feeling and takes you
Yep.
away. So I
Yep.
think by proactively checking those boxes and making those deposits, it frees up your energy, your mind, and your mental energy to do what
Yep.
you need to do professionally. But
Absolutely. And you know what? I just want to sneak in there is that, and guess what? No matter how well you try to manage things, you're going to have to take money out too, right? You
that's
don't
right.
want to. And then, but the impact of it is going to, again, just like with your financial bank account, the impact on your budget or on your savings is going to be determined by what was in there in the first place. So unfortunately, We do have to cancel a date night once in a while because something comes up. We do have to take an urgent phone call and it disrupts a date night out with our spouse. We do have to miss one of our children's special events or activities or sporting events because of a work or other type of family commitment, with an extended family member. And yet we can maintain a healthy balance with that person, with that relationship, if we've been investing in it regularly. And this is why when people try to make a big deposit in an overdone account, like, so I have no doubt that there's some people that go on this big fancy, anniversary type
Yeah.
thing. And during the anniversary, fight and bicker constantly with their spouse or significant other, or maybe even get divorced after that because they realize, wow, we hadn't spent that much time together. And now when we did, all of these other things, all these little things that came up throughout the year, come to the head.
Yeah.
So yeah, the
Yeah, no,
with your body, with your finances, with all the significant areas of your life, consistent deposits is the way to go. You're just going to be,
correct.
that's an absolute fact. And something
Correct. Yeah. Now, yeah, relation. I mean, we are very, very happy, and now you have your place that you go, your sanctuary that the two
that's
of you
right.
go to, right?
Yep.
And I'm sure it's been a game changer as well.
Yeah, we have this year again. Now our kids are older; they're both out of the house, and so one of the things of all the things that we wanted to have that we saved for and worked towards, was the ability to have a winter home because Buffalo, New York, is known for very, very brutal winters. And so this year, my wife spent the majority of time at our home in Tucson,
Awesome.
and but again, as we always emphasize, there's nothing about what we're doing. It's just matters of degree, right? We have a nice extra home in Tucson. There are some people that have, when I traveled to Florida one time in Delray Beach, Florida, there were these $40 million oceanside mansions. And we were talking to one of the realtors and he said, oh, most of the people that have those don't live in them year round. These are people even from Europe or whatever, and they own these big mansions, and they come here for 6 weeks of winter or 9 weeks of winter, and then they go back. So I want to emphasize to people that whether we're talking about you took a week in Mexico on a vacation, or if I remember when we were young parents and we would say, hey, if we could just get 3 days, if we could get 3 days on a long weekend, we're going to drive to, my wife and I went to Cornell. We're going to drive back to our university campus. We're going to stay and I'll admit to everyone, we're going to stay in the Super 8 motel. I think was $95 a night.
Yeah.
And that's going to be our weekend together, but we have to make deposits into who, we are. And that's the same for parents. You don't have to take your kids. You have to take your kids to Disney World and spend a $5,000 vacation for a week, every single year. It might be, hey, we're going to the local beach, 3 days in a row, and we're going to get an ice cream cone 3 days in a row, and we're going to have the best time doing that. They just can't go ignored. That's the biggest thing.
That is the key. I remember that when I first opened the school, we didn't have money to go away on a vacation. So we ended up taking our kids to New York City and became tourists in New York City. It's 45 minutes down, and we would do all the touristy things and save, came back home that night, slept, went back the next morning.
Wow.
This is funny. My kids were so tired, and we were taking the train, and my daughter fell asleep and in the stroller, and I took a picture of it. I said, all right, Brandon, Timmy, look like you're sleeping. And I put a sign on them that said, buy 2, get 1 free.
Oh.
We just saw the picture. My wife and I were laughing at while we were on vacation in Mexico. We were looking at some of our old pictures, and that one came up. She says, text it to me. To our kids, but you also had a pretty busy weekend, completely different. So why don't you go on and share a little bit about what you just had? I'm sure Mexico and something a little different in Georgia.
That's right. Well, so I was honored to, again, most people of our listeners know that while we're not exclusively talking about martial arts, that martial arts has played a significant part of all of our lives, and is really part at the foundation of the balanced warrior concept. That's maybe part of the warrior aspect. But I went to Atlanta, Georgia to test for my 7th degree black belt. I tested in front of my mentor in so many areas, but also my martial arts Grandmaster Sung Chong, Korean Grandmaster, former U.S., former Korean national champion and U.S. national team head coach. So really considered one of the best of the best.
Of course.
And it's normal to take about 6 or 7 years in between belt level tests at this level. But it had been 9 years since I had tested last.
Yeah.
And during that time period, I had a hip replacement about 2 years ago or so. I had a knee replacement 1 year ago. So it was a kind of slow road back, and at times a little bit of mental and physical pain and frustration
Yeah.
at dealing with a body that's not quite the same as it was. I started as you did in martial arts 42 years ago.
Right.
So it's not quite the same as my teens and 20 type high performing athletic body that I'm working with. But
Yeah.
yes,
Well,
I successfully had that accomplishment over the weekend.
I think it's amazing. And just so all the listeners know, 7th degree black belt is, in our organization, and for many organizations, earns you the title of Grandmaster. Now, in Mike's organization, it doesn't necessarily mean the title of Grandmaster, but I think it is a title that he has earned and hopefully holds in his heart, because you definitely have earned it. We've known each other at the Taekwondo capacity for 40 years, right? I mean, we were barely black belt.
Right. Yep.
Right.
Yep.
When we were competing,
We met as young competitors in tournaments. Again, your grandmaster now is my grandmaster's, very close personal friend. At that time, you had a different instructor, but yeah, we grew up. We knew each other in our peak athletic years as well.
That's right. So we know those days.
That's right.
That's right. But to understand like that level of accomplishment, we're talking, and there's not many things in life or careers or paths where you could do something consistently for 42 years and continue to earn and grow like this.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one of the points that I really want to make is look, you and I are the same age. We're 55. Right? I think I'm a little older, aren't I?
You got my birthday's coming up in August, so you got me by a few.
So you're still 54.
That's right. I am.
Right. So I'm 55, right? So between the two of us, we're like 109 years old.
Okay.
But a lot of people stop that growth. A lot of people think they know it. And one of the things, like you mentioned, that we are continuously blessed with is the fact that we still have mentors.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. And you have Grandmaster Chong, I have Grandmaster Kim, and vice versa. Right. I have so much admiration and respect for Grandmaster Chong, and you have the same for Grandmaster Kim. And the idea, what happened is I'm looking through, so I didn't know. I didn't know you were doing this. And I look through social media and I see this post from your Taekwondo school that says, "Congratulations to Master Mertens, who successfully accomplished and tested his 7th degree black belt." And I'm like, whoa, where did this come from? Because I also know you had your knee replacement less than a year ago. I know that you struggled with it, the recovery, because it is not an easy recovery. And I was so happy. And I was looking at the post, and I noticed that there wasn't a lot of people around. That it was just you, Grandmaster Chong's son Andy, and Grandmaster Chong, and I thought that was awesome, because a lot of people need to put on a show. This was for you, for your growth, for your development, for Grandmaster Chong, the connection that you guys had as master and student, even though you're 55 and he's well into his 70s, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, we have a 20-year age gap.
Master and student is still intact, and you didn't need any affirmation from anybody except for him.
Right.
And I think that is absolutely beautiful and meaningful, and because that's all that matters. And then they took some videos, and I saw some videos, and you look freaking awesome,
Uh,
right? You blasted through the back kick of 4 boards, which again, at 55 years old and a bunch of 54, I'm sorry, uh, and a bunch of metal in your body,
right.
that's partially bionic. That was super impressive.
Yep.
But you did mention you had some alone time, some one-on-one time with
Yeah.
Grandmaster Kong. What was that like?
So, I can't, I am sure obviously it's a little more common in martial arts. If somebody had a great teacher in school, that person was their teacher maybe for a year or two. Even if
Yeah,
they had a great coach, maybe that coach was their coach for 4 years in college, or maybe they had some other reason that they worked with that person for, 6 years or 10 years or something like that. But I literally have been a student of one person for over
yeah,
40 years. And
unbelievable.
it's simply, and then we actually became business partners. We owned a building together. We created a consulting company together. So, from being a teenager when I first met him to being a young married guy, a young married dad, a dad of two, a homeowner, a second homeowner,
Yeah.
going through surgeries. I had 4 other knee surgeries along the way. So we did, to say he was, there's just not I don't know if there's a word in English to put into what it means, all of the thousands of memories and the
Yeah.
thousands of hours of time we spent together. I honestly would say that I don't think a day goes by where I don't say, teach,
Hmm.
or live something that I learned from him.
Yes.
And when we spent one-on-one time, it was so comforting, rewarding, and it also reminded me, some of the things that I admire about him. So he is, again, 72 years old. When I saw him, he was in very, very good physical condition, which is something
Yes.
that we've talked about, that sometimes when people age, there's certain things they can't control. But okay, let's talk about his daily habits. So I said, "Oh, sir, tell me, you're in retirement now, right? We used to have all these meetings and hours of things that we had to get done every day. What's that day in the life look like?" And he said he gets up every day. He follows a breathing and meditation strategy that he learned from your teacher, Grandmaster Chung, again, or Grandmaster Kim, who again is his
Yep.
personal friend. He told me that he does his martial arts kicks every day, right?
Wow.
And does he do, 100? I was okay. As 100? No, he said 8. I do 8 of this kick, 8 of that kick, 8 of this kick, 8 of this kick, but I do them all every day. And it reminded me with such simple genius that, wait, if I did every one of my kicks every day, what if I never stopped doing them? Then they're going to stay at a certain level, all the time. But if I got to do 100 every time, and oh, geez, I'm real sore, I'm not going to do it today or whatever. So, he talked about doing that. He's playing golf, which he was already a long-time golfer and very skilled
Right.
golfer, but he's playing pickleball with his wife.
Popular.
It's become very popular with seniors, and that's social. And he had started, he did not his whole life that I knew him. He had started playing guitar within the last few years.
Wow.
Now he had started playing drums within the
Really?
since he retired. But most importantly, that I want to emphasize is he is taking lessons. He's taking guitar lessons, voice lessons, music lessons. And it reminded me, which is not just, it's something I admire about him, but it also is a reminder for all of us that perhaps one of the reasons that he is one of the greatest teachers I've ever known and
Yeah.
seems so excited when teaching others is because he's so committed to being a learner, you
Yes.
know, and he has an innate sense of curiosity. Again, we talk about this all the time, that children, right, have this innate sense of curiosity. They want to know what's behind that door, what's under this cover, what's over there,
Yeah.
what's your name, what is that called? And then we get to a certain age in life. And so I don't mean to throw shade at anybody, but if somebody is waking up, going to the refrigerator, grabbing something to eat, sit down, watch the news for a few hours, take a nap, then I don't know, watch 4 or 5 hours of TV, read the newspaper for a little bit, and that's their day. It's no wonder that everything starts to atrophy, right? They
Yeah, of
physically fall
course.
back, they mentally fall back. And so keeping the mind sharp, keeping the body sharp. Some of it's a matter of, okay, what new things and what new adventures am I off to? And so when I talk to Grandmaster Chung, I just, come away with, again, a tremendous respect for consistency,
Right.
and for the love, his love of learning. And
Yeah.
even in his areas where he's an advanced martial artist, of course, one of the best in the world, that he's still interested and curious about how to throw a technique better, how to teach something better. That was really one of the things that I told myself, I want to continue to model, and even seeing him, be still limber and, again, at a very healthy weight and very vibrant,
Yeah.
tell myself, hey, it's not how long we live, it's how well. And so getting into my 60s and 70s and 80s, okay, I want to fight to have those kind of capabilities, right? So
And,
it made a big impact on me. Yeah, absolutely.
that is awesome. And again, him and Grandmaster Kim are from the same breed. And I remember, and I think I shared this a long time ago, but Grandmaster Kim had all these masters and grandmasters come all over to the north from the Northeast, tri-state area into my school, and he has everybody throw a sidekick or something, and he goes, okay, and he goes, now, all right, and then he does it, and he looks at everybody, and everybody's jaw dropped, right, because his technique is so good, and he goes, you know why I'm better? And he goes, because I'm older.
Uh-huh.
And I'm consistent.
Yep.
But I think taking that kind of idea of putting it into being a lifelong learner is so admirable. And I think that's something that I hope everybody will take out of this, is that, look, age really is just a number. I went snowboarding a couple of weeks ago. It was a couple of weeks ago, but it was late in the season. It was the end of March, maybe. It was the end of March. And I ended up bumping into these older individuals at breakfast, because it was Eastern Coast, 6 a.m. I was looking for a place to breakfast. I was on still Eastern time. And this was out west at, where was I? Heavenly in Lake Tahoe. So I'm having breakfast, and we strike up conversation, and I'm asking him about the mountain. He goes, why don't you join us? I'm like, oh, okay. We're going to get first chair. So I dropped off my stuff, went there right back, got first chair. This was Bob and Rob and Mike. Mike was from New York. So, of course, I saw him, and within 5 seconds, he dropped the F-bomb. So you knew he was from New York. Right?
Got it.
And then you see this white Tesla pull up, music blasting, your music's blasting, right? And they go, oh, okay, wait till you meet her. I'm like, and look in the silhouette of the car,
right.
There's actually a very attractive woman in there, right? So here comes out this woman in this bright purple one-piece ski outfit, and her name is Cher.
Cher, like the singer.
Yeah, like the singer Cher. And she's 80 years old.
No.
80 years old, and comes out in this tight, right around her figure. She must have been a knockout in her 40s, 50s, 60s, probably 70s, even 80. I don't know, but I had to take a picture with her. Anyway, she's putting in, she says, oh, my goal this year is 200 days on the mountain.
Wow. Incredible.
200 days of skiing on the mountain. And I think she was actually 81. Mike was 75. Bob was 73. The other guy was like 70. And here I am, 55 years old.
Right. Hey, baby.
Trying to keep up with them.
Wow. Yeah.
And I rode with them the whole day.
No, that's great.
The whole day. And that was probably the biggest day of skiing I've done in years. I did 30,000 feet of elevation. What do you call it? Yeah, of whatever. But I did 30,000 feet of going up and down. But it was just so inspiring. And I think it's the consistency, the lifestyle, the investment that we do now really, truly affects our future.
Yeah.
And the always, always, always being a student. And the other thing that I love the fact that you and I and Paul honor the legacies of those of those who shared with us their wisdom and knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's also professionally, we always talk about we need three people in our lives. We need a protege, we need a partner, and we need a mentor.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of people, they fail to honor the people who have helped them.
Mm.
And I think that is such a beautiful tribute to what we do, to Grandmaster Chang, to Grandmaster Kim, to our parents,
Yep.
to all of the mentors that have formed us. So I think that's another lesson. And again, it doesn't matter, because I know there's no business that anybody is a part of where you didn't have a mentor to show you the way.
Mm-hmm.
And in some ways, those mentors show you what not to do.
Some do. That's
right. And we've experienced that. And we have to also be grateful for those experiences, because there's a lot of things that I even do today in my practices because of the mistakes that my mentors have had, including my parents.
Yep.
They're not perfect, including my original Taekwondo instructor.
Yep.
Not perfect, but I learned so many valuable lessons that switched me to see or seek the direction that I wanted to go.
Mm-hmm.
I am so happy for you, and I am definitely surprised. So surprised.
Sorry, yeah.
Okay.
My wife knew I was going to be going to test. My business partners and my full-time staff knew. We've got 1,600 plus regular students. They didn't know until they saw the post. My parents didn't know. I had one previous experience while trying to train for a test, that when I performed at a very high level, this was prior to my last couple surgeries, that I had gotten injured and had to delay the test. And so I kind of had in the back of my mind, you know what, I don't really want to make a lot of big noise about this. And hey, after it's done, hopefully I can celebrate the accomplishment. And yes, thankfully I did. So
no, I think it's awesome. And as I said, I think it's even more. My 7th Dan was intimate as well. Yeah. I had more people than the three of you, but it was back. Grandmaster Kim, he actually called up Paul's mom and dad to the testing board with him.
Yes, to sit with him. I remember that.
Right. So I mean, it was that kind of intimacy, and it was an extremely memorable experience. Well, I don't know. What do you think are the big lessons of today?
Well, again, we try to hopefully illustrate them along the way. But again, if you've been listening to us before, it's a good reminder. If it's your first time coming in, the concept of multidimensional success, that you not only can, but should live a life that's in balance in multiple areas. And one of the key rules to do that is to consistently make contributions to all of them. And I just heard somebody say on like some other podcast type of thing, hey, there's no such thing as balance or whatever. Well, really what ended up saying, right, is, well, no, it's kind of going to be kind of dynamic, right? So at certain times your business is going to demand more. At certain times your life is going to demand more. So I agree. You don't end up with a perfectly balanced day, most of the days. But okay, where do I put in the time for family? Where do I put it in for couple? Where do I put it in for health? Where do I put it in for business? If in aggregate it gets balanced out, that's the right way. And then again, we said that applies to every different area of your life. And then, of course, you also mentioned one of the other keys, which is having that awareness. Where on that spectrum, do I have, am I missing? Do I have someone that's teaching me something so that I have something to work towards and grow at? Do I have someone that I'm partnered with that we're working on certain things together? And then am I passing on the knowledge that I have to other people? I mean, those two checklists, as a review for everybody from today, right? In your different areas of life, how you doing with consistent contributions to them? Mm-hmm. And then in your status of coach, mentor, coach and mentor, and then partner, and then protege, are you lacking anybody in those areas? Because those are going to contribute. So, I think we had a pretty foundational and good review episode for people.
I love it.
And, again, if this seems beneficial to everybody, then please, like and share the podcast, tell others about it. so we can bring these concepts and knowledge to others. As Chris mentioned, our remaining Balanced Warrior coach is out today.
Yeah.
Coach Paul is the Darth Vader to Chris's Yoda.
Yeah, it was easy today.
He's a little more hard edge. He's a little more F-bomb throwing. And of course, we love him. And he's got a tremendous martial arts and coaching background as well.
Yeah.
And you'll be able to enjoy all three of us here on the Balanced Warrior podcast. Thanks for joining us today. Chris, again, congratulations to you and Kathy on
congratulations to you as well. Seventh time, Grandmaster Mertens.
Indeed. Thank you, sir. And the learning only continues. Thanks, everyone. Thank you so much.